podcast. Bobby Lee made one single joke which completely wrecked the relationship between the three hosts Logan, Mike, and most notably George.
He's not coming back?
Is he really mad? Is he really mad?
Oh,
I
we
know
have beef with a guy? I don't know.
Yeah,
no.
I
didn't do anything wrong.
For context, Logan and Mike created the podcast back in late 2018, and it's safe to say that these two have always had excellent chemistry. Their personalities work well together, they seem to be pretty good friends, and generally speaking, they exhibit a similar level of status. Keeping a permanent third host, on the other hand, has proven much more difficult. The first 150 episodes featured a third host named Spencer, who eventually left the podcast to move to Hawaii, after which the role went to Logan's childhood friend Mac, who'd then also leave after getting into a fight with Mike over their difference in interests. On episode 219 in September 2020, the next and most recent third host was announced as George Janko,
Introducing the third co-host of Impaulsive, my best friend, George Janko.
who was certainly different to the previous two. George was introduced as a more emotional counterpart to Logan and Mike, as he had a reputation for wearing his heart on his sleeve, while Logan and Mike were almost the exact opposite. In addition to this, George was a devout Christian, with discussion about his own spirituality, adding another layer of contrast to what had previously been a non-religious show. Outside of Impaulsive, George practiced the art of stand-up comedy, although it'd be through comedy that he'd eventually meet his ruin. One thing was glaringly obvious from George's very first appearance. He simply wasn't on the same level as Logan and Mike. Logan has succeeded with everything from vlogs to Prime, while Mike has overcome his own set of challenges and has proven himself as a fantastic interviewer who meshes well with almost every guest on the show. George, on the other hand, has always felt a little too much like, well, just another guy who Logan met at the gym.
Logan, I met him at a gym.
George never had the chance to refine his interviewing skills to the same degree as Logan and Mike, which is only accentuated by his seating position to the right of the guest, making it much harder for George to engage in the conversation. The obvious imbalance between George, Logan, Mike, and usually the guest as well, leaves George with a needy personality and an overpowering desire for approval, leading to over-the-top questions and comments, often producing a clunky viewing experience.
I need to know more about you. Like, how did you figure out that like this entertainment world was your calling?
That's what I was gonna say.
I said it, so.
But I was gonna say.
No, but I said it.
No, it's good. It's good.
I was already funnier than the kids around me, so I was like, I could tell the joke that they're gonna make fun of me, but even better. And I made it about myself. So I was like making fun of myself, like really self-deprecated myself.
Generally speaking, George's attitude wasn't severe enough to upset any of the guests. However, on episode 346 with Shaquille O'Neal, George was slapped in the face with a bit of a reality check. For the first 11 minutes of the podcast, George didn't say a single word, leading Shaq to confront him about his lack of input.
Hold on, you ain't gonna ask me a question? Oh, damn.
He waits. He likes to wait until he's got the. Bro, listen, man. I read the Bible a lot when they talk about David and Goliath. I've never seen a giant, and so like I'm literally just I'm a little taken.
You've been sitting over here for 30 minutes, and that's all you can freaking say. Fucking kidding me.
No, he's not gonna say
That's a question. Jeez.
I'm just sitting.
Are you drunk?
I have one question. Is there
Okay,
any
thank
chance I could, for 2 seconds, put these up so I can hear what's going on?
Take them all. You don't have to ask
Why
the
are you asking
producer.
Dylan?
Just take things off.
Okay.
After making the excuse that he couldn't hear due to his headphones, George sat quietly for another 11 minutes, after which he was scolded again.
What the fuck are you doing here? Ask a question. Jeez. He's your partner?
He's the newest.
You might want to give him his 2-week notice. Ask the question, dude.
Honestly-
Jeez. You're just sitting here like a bobblehead going,
Yeah. No,
That's the
I'm so
question.
sorry. I didn't want to
Okay.
interrupt you because
No,
I
go
couldn't
ahead.
hear, but.
Go ahead.
And it's safe to say that this put a permanent dent in George's confidence. He'd already joked about how difficult it was to be the third host in the past.
It's hard to be the third person on a podcast with
wouldn't
two
say.
very vocal main hosts.
And after the Shaquille O'Neal episode, it was obvious that George's confidence had fallen off a cliff.
And then recently, I've been just getting really nervous that I'm not doing well enough for the podcast anymore.
Only 5 episodes after Shaq roasted George, Bobby Lee would join the show for Impaulsive 351, during which one single joke would send the show into turmoil. The episode began with Bobby taking a little jab at George by suggesting that Mike was cooler.
You have everything. Cool friends.
So
you
this-
have cool friends like this guy? What about him? No.
Yet things became a little more contentious when George took it from fun to borderline aggressive.
Some people just don't like sucking dick. Now turn around and know the wisdom I give you.
Whoa.
before displaying more arrogance just a few minutes later.
How about you?
First of all, what's my name?
Sensing George's clear insecurity, Bobby began to roast George whenever he got the opportunity.
You have a girlfriend?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Mike refused to elaborate on the situation when asked by Aiden Ross.
Why is Georgie not on Impulsive anymore? Is that like you don't answer that?
No, I don't want to talk about that.
Although only 1 month later on an episode of Jeff FM with Mike and Tanner Mojo, Tanner accidentally said this.
We are the new Impulsive. I'm sorry.
We are. It's fine.
Y'all are having like a rebrand, like George is leaving. Like, this is it.
At around the same point in time, George unfollowed both Logan and Mike on Instagram, which was followed by Impaulsive changing their profile picture from this to this, as well as their banner from this to this. All of this had happened silently with no input from the hosts. However, on the 26th of April 2023, George would post to Twitter, "I wasn't going to talk, but now I am," implying that some pretty heavy stuff had gone down behind the scenes. Replies on the post encouraged George to keep the drama private, yet on the 31st of May, approximately 1 month later, another tweet was made stating, "To the Impaulsive fans, I'm so sorry I can't speak about things, not my choice. I do love you guys, and for those of you sending me the clip of them talking shit, it's all love. I've already moved on from that toxic environment," confirming that he was no longer on the podcast. The post received replies slamming George such as, "Mate, you sat there not speaking for 90% of the time. What are we missing, your silence?" To which he'd respond by stating, "You think I wanted to be quiet, ha ha ha." Yet this kind of statement is representative of why he's unsuitable for the podcast. He cares way too much about how other people view him. If you're the type of person who gets defensive and feels like you always have to be in the right, you're probably better suited to a Facebook comment section and not a career on YouTube. Despite this, George has seen some success with the George Janko show, yet Logan hasn't been able to resist roasting George's low view count.
I love this outlet, and it exists because people watch. And without people watching, I just have a show like.
Since then, George has stated that he simply wants to distance himself from Mike and Logan.
I'm at a point right now where